Chapter 1. Bossam, the gentle embrace of kimchi. The meeting of bossam and kimchi is not merely a food pairing, it is a ritual shaped by time and devotion. A language of memory deeply inscribed in the Korean palate. In the winter of 1985, Professor Lee Sung-woo of Seoul National University's Department of Food and Nutrition traced the origins of bossam to royal banquet records from the late Joseon dynasty. In his book History of Korean Food Culture, at that time, bossam was referred to as samyeok, shenru, a dish in which tenderly boiled pork was wrapped with various vegetables and kimchi. The Dongguk Sesiji 1849 also recorded that in winter, when kimchi begins to ferment after the kimjang season, people in Seoul would boil pork and eat it with the newly made kimchi. According to a 2010 report by the Korea Food Research Institute, slowly boiling pork at 80–90 C for approximately 40 minutes converts collagen into gelatin, making the meat exceptionally tender. Adding ginger, scallions, and doenjang soybean paste removes the gamey odor, while infusing a subtle sweetness and umami. During boiling, some fat dissolves into the water, but a light film of oil remains within the muscle fibers, keeping the meat moist. Once the pork is sliced thinly and plated while still warm, it's time to prepare the kimchi. The ideal choice is Napa kimchi, that has fermented for 2 to 3 weeks after kimjang. At this stage, the lactic acid fermentation peaks, maintaining a pH between 4.2 and 4.5, a perfect balance of sourness and savoriness. A 2015 study by the World Institute of Kimchi revealed that Leuconostoc mesenteroides, a beneficial lactic acid bacterium, thrives most during this stage and produces mannitol, a compound responsible for kimchi's refreshing, clean sweetness. A single kimchi leaf is spread open carefully, and a slice of pork is placed atop it. A sliver of garlic, a piece of green chili, and a few drops of salted shrimp are added. Some may prefer a dab of samjang spicy soybean paste, but kimchi's own seasoning is usually rich enough. When rolled into a small bundle, the white pork and red kimchi together form a perfect harmony. The first bite unfolds in layers. The soft texture and mild sweetness of the pork envelop the tongue as one chews. The warmth of ginger and the earthy flavor of doenjang emerge. Then, the bright acidity of kimchi bursts forth. The crisp Napa fibers contrast with the tenderness of the meat, adding rhythm to the texture. The sharpness of garlic and the heat of chili follow, and finally, the salted shrimp's brininess ties every flavor together. The owner of a bossam restaurant in Mapo, Seoul, who has kept the same recipe for 30 years, says, "Kimchi must be homemade. Store-bought kimchi never truly matches our bossam. Ours uses less salted seafood but more radish and pear for natural sweetness. The kimchi should balance out the pork's fat, not overpower it with salt or sourness." As he notes, the harmony of bossam and kimchi is an art of precise timing and balance. On a winter evening, when bossam and kimchi are placed on the family table, it becomes more than a meal, it becomes a ritual of gratitude for the year's efforts. The memories of family members gathering for kimjang, the anticipation as the kimchi ferments, and the joy of tasting it at its peak all come together on that single plate. With every bite of kimchi-wrapped bossam, we taste the cycle of the seasons, the mystery of fermentation, and the warmth of shared food. Chapter 2. Grilled pork belly. Fire meets fermentation. The encounter between grilled pork belly, samgyeopsal, and kimchi is a dramatic meeting of fire and fermentation, two primal cooking forces. Though this combination became popular during Korea's rapid economic growth in the late 1970s, its roots reach much deeper. In 1976, the Korean government introduced No Beef Day. To reduce beef consumption, pork emerged as the substitute of choice, and samgyeopsal quickly gained immense popularity among the working class. According to a 1982 study by Seoul National University's Department of Agricultural Economics, samgyeopsal consumption grew by an average of 23% annually from the late 1970s to early 1980s, especially in Seoul and the metropolitan area, giving rise to a new dining culture, the Gojip Grill House. The drama begins the moment samgyeopsal touches the grill. As it sizzles, fat melts and flows along the grooves, creating smoke that fills the air. A 2012 study by the Korea Food Research Institute found that grilling pork belly at temperatures above 200 C triggers the Maillard reaction, producing hundreds of aromatic compounds. Among them, pyrazines generate a nutty aroma, while furans add a caramel-like sweetness distinctive to grilled meat. When one side of the pork turns golden brown, kimchi is placed on the grill beside it, the defining move of this dish. It is said that a restaurant owner in Mapo, Seoul, first tried this in the late 1980s, reasoning that the fat from the pork could make kimchi even tastier. His intuition was spot on. As the kimchi cooks, moisture evaporates, its leaves curl, and the pork fat seeps into the layers. The lactic and acetic acids in the kimchi transform into volatile aromatic compounds, blending their tangy scent with the smoky aroma of the meat. A 2018 report by the World Institute of Kimchi confirmed that heating kimchi softens its spiciness by reducing capsaicin intensity while enhancing sweetness through caramelization of natural sugars, amplifying its umami depth. Eating grilled kimchi with samgyeopsal delivers an entirely new dimension of flavor. The sourness softens, the sweetness blooms, and the pork's fattiness is balanced by the kimchi's savory tang. The combination of animal fat, plant fiber, and fermentation-derived amino acids creates a complex umami harmony. To complete the ritual, a fresh lettuce leaf is laid on the palm, topped with grilled pork and grilled kimchi. A slice of raw garlic, a piece of chili, and a dab of samjang are added. Traditional samjang mixes doenjang and gochujang with sesame oil, minced scallions, sesame seeds, and a hint of sugar. A 2016 study from Kyungji University's Department of Tourism found that 87% of Koreans prefer eating samgyeopsal wrapped in greens, and the choice of ingredients in the wrap critically affects taste satisfaction. Once wrapped and eaten in a single bite, the textures and flavors burst together: the crisp lettuce, chewy meat, tender kimchi. The pungency of raw garlic awakens the palate, samjang's sweet salty flavor ties everything together, and the grilled kimchi leaves a lingering warmth. What remains afterward is nutty satisfaction, freshness, and the anticipation of the next bite. A renowned samgyeopsal chef in Seoul's Gangnam district, who has been grilling pork for 40 years, explains, good samgyeopsal should have the skin on and even layers of fat and lean meat. But good meat alone isn't enough. The kimchi must be right. We use less chili powder and anchovy sauce, instead of salted shrimp, to make it cleaner. That way, when grilled together, the balance is perfect. On a Friday evening, as friends gather at a grill house to unwind from the week, the sizzling of meat, the aroma of roasting kimchi, and the laughter shared around the table all blend into something beyond a meal. It is a moment of connection, a reaffirmation of Korean identity. Samgyeopsal and kimchi, the union of fire and fermentation, have thus become an inseparable part of our lives. Chapter 3. Kimchi Stew, the soul of everyday meals. Kimchi stew, kimchi jjigae, is not a glamorous dish. It rarely appears on the menus of upscale restaurants, nor is it reserved for special occasions. Yet every Korean remembers its taste, and its aroma alone can summon the feeling of home. It is the simplest yet most comforting of all Korean foods. The history of kimchi stew is as old as that of kimchi itself. In the Joseon-era text Jungbo Salim Jangjae 1766, there is a record that says, boiling aged kimchi with pork makes a fine side dish for cold winter days. At the time, it was known as kimchi goop kimchi soup, and developed as a way to use kimchi that had become overly sour after the winter kimjang season. The 1920s cookbook Joseon Yorija Beop describes a more detailed recipe. Chop well-fermented kimchi, boil it with pork, and add a small amount of doenjang soybean paste for a deeper flavor. The first rule for good kimchi stew is aged kimchi mukeunji. The ideal kimchi has been fermented for at least 1 month, preferably 2 to 3. According to a 2014 study by the Korea Food Research Institute, kimchi at this stage has a low pH of 3.84.0. With abundant lactic acid and amino acids produced by protein breakdown, creating a profound umami flavor. In particular, glutamic acid and aspartic acid increase, turning the kimchi itself into a natural seasoning. pork belly or shoulder is the most common meat used. A 2017 Seoul National University study found that pork fat neutralizes kimchi's acidity, while the capsaicin in kimchi eliminates pork's gamey odor, a complementary relationship. When the pork is stir-fried first and the kimchi added later, the rendered fat seeps into the kimchi, intensifying the flavor. To begin, sesame oil is heated in a pot and pork added. As the meat browns, it releases a savory aroma. Sliced aged kimchi is then added and stir-fried together over medium heat for about 5 minutes. The red seasoning from the kimchi begins to caramelize and stick to the bottom of the pot. This is the secret to the stew's deep, toasty flavor. When water or broth is poured in, those browned bits dissolve, creating a rich, flavorful base. Once the broth comes to a boil, tofu, green onions, and onions are added. Tofu is essential. Soft tofu gives a silky texture, while firm tofu adds chewiness. A 2019 World Institute of Kimchi study found that tofu's protein softens the sourness of kimchi while contributing to nutritional balance. After simmering for 10 to 15 minutes, the kimchi's acidity infuses the broth, and the ingredients meld together into one harmonious flavor. As it boils, the scent of kimchi stew fills the kitchen, a smell that defines the meaning of home. The sour aroma of kimchi, the savory notes of pork, and the sharp fragrance of garlic and green onions blend into something no perfume or air freshener could ever imitate. The smell recalls childhood memories, coming home from school to the comforting aroma of kimchi stew simmering on the stove. Served bubbling in an earthenware pot, kimchi stew envelops the senses. A spoonful of the broth delivers heat, followed by a complex harmony of sour, salty, sweet, spicy, and savory flavors. The kimchi leaves are soft, almost melting, while the pork, infused with broth, becomes tender. The tofu absorbs the soup's flavor, releasing a rich taste with every bite. Mixing rice into the stew is a happiness only Koreans truly understand. As the rice softens in the hot broth, each spoonful combining kimchi, pork, and tofu becomes a complete meal. At a restaurant in Jongno, Seoul, the owner has been cooking kimchi stew the same way for 40 years. The secret is simple, she says. Good aged kimchi, pork with the right amount of fat, and patience to let it simmer. That's all you need. Never use MSG. Kimchi already contains all the flavor. On a cold winter night, making kimchi stew alone is an act of self-care. A pot of stew made from leftover kimchi and pork soothes loneliness with its warmth. One spoonful of steaming broth melts the chill from within. Kimchi stew sustains everyday life, unpretentious yet sincere, ordinary yet deeply precious. Chapter 4. Kimchi Fried Rice, a bowl of balance. Kimchi fried rice. Kimchi Bap is the alchemy of the kitchen. Leftover rice, souring kimchi, and scraps from the fridge transform into a complete meal, revealing the essence of cooking itself, minimizing waste while maximizing creativity. It embodies the practical wisdom of Korean home cooking. The exact origin of kimchi fried rice is uncertain, but it likely spread during the food shortages following the Korean War in the 1950s, as a clever way to reuse leftovers. The 1965 book Modern Korean Cuisine describes it as a simple one-meal dish made by frying leftover rice and sour kimchi in oil. Once a humble meal of the poor, it has since become a beloved comfort food enjoyed by all generations and classes. The first secret to good kimchi fried rice lies in the rice. Day-old, refrigerated rice works far better than freshly cooked rice. A 2013 study by the Korea Food Research Institute explains that as rice cools, its starch undergoes retrogradation. Moisture leaves the grains and they firm up. Such rice fries better, staying separate rather than clumping. Its structure also absorbs oil efficiently while maintaining shape, yielding a chewy, nutty texture characteristic of perfect fried rice. The best kimchi is well fermented and noticeably sour, almost too sharp to eat raw. When chopping it, do not squeeze out the liquid. The brine contains lactic acid and amino acids that define the dish's flavor. A 2016 World Institute of Kimchi analysis found that kimchi juice is rich in glutamic acid and inosinate, both powerful umami compounds that give fried rice its depth. In a frying pan, heat chili oil or sesame oil until nearly smoking. Add the chopped kimchi first and stir fry for about 1 minute. As moisture evaporates, sweetness concentrates, and capsaicin from chili powder dissolves into the oil, intensifying the aroma. When the kimchi turns slightly translucent and edges begin to caramelize, add the rice and mix quickly. Instead of pressing the rice flat, toss it gently so the grains absorb the kimchi seasoning without being crushed. Adjust seasoning based on kimchi saltiness. If it tastes too mild, add a splash of soy sauce or fish sauce. Finish with sesame seeds, shredded seaweed, and chopped scallions for extra aroma. Just before removing from the heat, drizzle a ring of sesame oil around the edge of the pan. This final touch imparts the signature nuttiness of kimchi fried rice. A 2018 Kyunghee University culinary study found that sesame oil's antioxidants sesamol and sesaminol remain stable, even at high temperatures, enhancing both flavor and aroma. Plating the fried rice and topping it with a sunny-side-up egg transforms a humble meal into something special. The moment the yolk breaks and flows over the rice is visually pleasing, but more importantly, it transforms the flavor. The yolk's creamy texture softens kimchi's sharp acidity. According to a 2015 Seoul National University study, lecithin in egg yolks emulsifies capsaicin, mellowing the spiciness while providing fat-soluble vitamins for nutritional balance. When the yolk is mixed into the rice, each ingredient reveals its own layer of flavor: the nuttiness of rice, the tang and heat of kimchi, and the velvety richness of egg. The crunch of cabbage, the firmness of radish, and the bounce of egg white bring texture to what could otherwise be monotonous. At a small eatery in Sinchon, Seoul, the owner has been serving kimchi fried rice in the same spot for 30 years. Every morning, she chops homemade aged kimchi and cooks each order fresh. Kimchi fried rice is about care, she says. You have to control the heat carefully and keep stirring so the rice doesn't burn but still tastes toasty. The egg matters too. It has to be half cooked so the yolk turns creamy when mixed. If you overcook it, the rice gets dry. For those who live alone, kimchi fried rice holds special meaning. After a long day at work, when cooking feels like too much effort, a bowl made in 10 minutes from leftover rice and kimchi becomes instant comfort. A 2020 survey by the Korea Rural Economic Institute found that 68% of single-person households cook kimchi fried rice at least once a week, citing simplicity, great taste, and efficient use of leftovers as the main reasons. Late at night, after drinking with friends, kimchi fried rice offers another kind of solace. Its spicy acidity awakens dulled taste buds, and the hot rice soothes the stomach. Breaking the egg yolk and taking a spoonful feels as though the day's fatigue and the haze of alcohol melt away together. The beauty of kimchi fried rice lies not in perfection but in its embrace of imperfection. Whether the rice is leftover, frozen, slightly soggy, or dry doesn't matter. The kimchi that seemed too sour to eat, the stray piece of spam or sausage found in the fridge all find new purpose in this single dish. It's not just a lesson in reducing food waste but also a reflection of contentment with what one has. When the last bite is gone, the satisfaction is more than fullness. It's the quiet pride of self-care, the small triumph of creating something delicious out of little, and the realization of how extraordinary this familiar taste truly is. Kimchi fried rice remains one of Korea's most humble yet most sustaining dishes, a bowl of balance that nourishes both body and spirit. Chapter 5. Kimchi Pancake Crisp Comfort. When it rains, a certain food naturally comes to mind: kimchi jeon. The sizzling sound in the pan, the toasty fragrance of oil, the lace crisp edges. Why do pancakes call to us on rainy days? Science has answers, but sentiment is more convincing. The patter of rain resembles the sound of batter frying. Cooking eases the cabin fever of being stuck indoors, or perhaps it's simply a habit etched into the Korean collective unconscious. Whatever the reason, kimchi jeon and rainy days are an undeniable truth. The history of kimchi pancakes reaches back to the Joseon dynasty. In the late 1800s cookbook Sayui Jeonseo, a method appears under the name jjim, mixing kimchi with wheat flour batter and shallow frying it in oil. Once prepared mainly for ancestral rites or holidays, the dish entered everyday life in the early 20th century. A 1940s volume, Joseon Yori Biop, introduces kimchi jeon as an economical side dish using aged kimchi. often a full meal made with nothing more than flour and kimchi in poor households. The first condition for a good kimchi pancake is, of course, the kimchi. Slightly fermented is best. If it's too fresh, the flavor is weak, and if it's too sour, the batter can turn harsh. A 2017 study by the Korea Food Research Institute suggests kimchi aged 3 to 5 weeks after kimjang is ideal, balancing acidity and umami. Chop the kimchi into bite-sized pieces and gently squeeze out some moisture. Remove too much liquid and the batter dries out. Leave too much and the pancake won't crisp. This delicate balance makes or breaks the dish. Mix the chopped kimchi with flour. Regular wheat flour, not only pre-mixed fritter flour, yields a chewier interior. A 2019 Kyunghee University test showed gluten from flour builds that springy crumb, while the added starches in fritter flour promote a crisp surface. A 7030 mix of plain flour to fritter flour gives the best texture. Add water little by little to reach the right consistency. Too thick and the center won't cook. Too thin and neither side crisps fully. The batter should fall slowly from a spoon. Add chopped garlic chives, squid, or mixed seafood to deepen flavor. Thinly sliced onion adds sweetness. A chopped green chili brings a sharp heat that complements kimchi's tang. Heat a generous amount of neutral oil over medium heat. When it's hot enough, ladle in batter and spread it into a round. Too thin and it's only crisp with no chew. Too thick and the middle stays underdone. About 1 centimeter is ideal. As it fries, the kitchen fills with music, sizzles and bubbles, promising something good is coming. When the edges brown, it's time to flip. Lift the pancake to check for a golden underside and turn it over. With that flip, the beauty shows a lace-like pattern of crispness, green flecks of chives and kimchi against the batter's warm gold. Fry the second side the same way until both faces are crisp and the inside remains pleasantly chewy. Perfection. At a decades-old Pojangmasha in Uljiro, the owner has sold kimchi jaeon from the same spot for 40 years. There's no secret, just care, she says. Control the heat and don't skimp on oil. You need enough oil for real crispness. And don't overmix the batter. Too much gluten makes it tough. Stir gently for a tender bite. Cut the finished pancake into pieces and serve with a dipping sauce. Soy sauce mixed with vinegar, sugar, sesame oil, toasted sesame seeds, plus chopped scallions and minced red chili for a bright, nutty tang. A 2016 World Institute of Kimchi analysis notes that acetic acid from vinegar and lactic acid from kimchi combine to amplify yet mellow acidity, while sugar tempers heat to balance the overall flavor. Dip a slice lightly and take a bite. The brittle crust shatters under your teeth, then the chewy center follows. The crunch of kimchi, the soft bread of chives, the spring of squid textures fill the mouth. Kimchi's sour and spicy notes, the batter's mild savor, the sauce's sweet tart nuttiness, and a final whisper of sesame linger as aftertaste. On a rainy Saturday afternoon, eating kimchi pancakes while watching the downpour slows life's tempo. You escape the urge to rush, chewing slowly, listening to the rain. A plate of kimchi jaeon and a cup of makgeolli. Nothing more is needed. Kimchi jaeon is also for sharing. Friends gathered, family around a table, a large pancake in the center with everyone taking a slice. Piping hot, it's at peak crispness. Cooled, its chew stands out. Either way it's good, though most prefer it fresh from the pan. Finishing one piece, you wipe the oil from your fingers and reach for another. Less hunger than the simple wish to extend pleasure. Kimchi jaeon brings small happiness to daily life. It's special on rainy days, but welcome any day. One compact masterpiece where crispness and chew, tang and toastiness, distill the variety of Korean food. Chapter 6. Ramen and Kimchi. The midnight duo. At 11 p.m., when the world grows quiet, something awakens appetite. Dinner wasn't long ago, yet a signal rises from the belly. It's more than a nibble but less than real hunger. What we seek then isn't elaborate cooking, but certainty. Ramen with kimchi. Their pairing grew with modern Korea. After Samyang launched instant ramen in 1963, it conquered the Korean table. According to 1970s KDI figures, annual per capita consumption jumped from 0.3 packets in 1965 to 22.5 in 1975. In those years, eating kimchi alongside ramen became natural. Kimchi was always in the fridge, and it cut through ramen's oiliness like a perfect partner. Everyone has a method, but certain principles hold. Once water boils, add noodles and soup base. Cook 3 to 4 minutes. A 2014 Korea Food Research Institute study suggests 3 minutes 30 seconds yields the best balance of elasticity and tenderness. Longer and the noodles bloat, shorter and they're underdone and harder to digest. While the pot boils, pull out the kimchi. Any kind will do, but slightly fermented kimchi pairs best. Moderately tangy yet still crisp. Slice and plate it. Some simmer kimchi in the broth, but serving it on the side keeps each flavor vivid. When the noodles are ready, kill the heat and set the pot directly on the table. A solo midnight snack needs no transfer to a bowl. Rest the kimchi plate on the inverted lid, grab chopsticks and a ladle. The thrill you feel isn't that of a Michelin room, it's a surer happiness, the certainty of deliciousness in moments. Lift the first tangle of noodles. Steam rises from strands stained red, and a slurp brings them rushing in. Heat skirts the edge of scalding, clinging to the tongue. Spice flares across the palate. That familiar, slightly artificial yet addictive ramen taste has been imprinted since childhood. After a few bites, take some kimchi. Its clean acidity rinses the spice, and its crunch plays against the noodle's softness. A 2017 World Institute of Kimchi study notes lactic acid can soften capsaicin's bite, while vitamin C and fiber aid digestion. Alternating noodles and kimchi finds a rhythm, as natural as music. Sip the broth and warmth slides down the throat, spreading through the body. The deep umami of ramen stock may come from MSG and seasonings, but its comfort is indisputable, a flavor that no refined consommé can quite mimic. In a 2020 Korea Consumer Agency survey, 92% of Koreans called ramen a comfort food, many viewing late-night ramen as a ritual that eases the day's stress. Near the end, the broth begs for rice. You're full, but wasting that liquid feels wrong. Microwave some frozen rice, stir it into the soup, add a few pieces of kimchi. The rice drinks the broth, softening as kimchi reigns in the richness. Clean to the last spoonful, you're not only fed, you're restored. A student living in a small study hostel in Siloam says he ends most nights this way. Around 11 I'm always hungry. Ramen with kimchi gets me going again, cheap, simple, and it clears my head. After eating, I can study 2 more hours. Ramen with kimchi reflects Korean habits and feelings. The office worker burning late hours, the student cramming through the night, the shift worker on duty, or the insomniac all find small comfort and fuel here. We know it isn't the healthiest choice, yet we return for the immediate satisfaction and emotional relief that outweigh nutritional concern. A 2019 Seoul National University consumer study called late-night ramen a psychological reward mechanism. Not mere hunger relief, a sanctioned little rebellion in the privacy of night, away from daytime restraint and social gaze. You wash the pot and with it the day's grit seems to drain away. Belly warm, limbs loose, mind light. Lying down, you know tomorrow will be hard again. It's fine. Tomorrow night there will be ramen and kimchi, and that will be enough. Ramen and kimchi are a modest pillar of Korean life. With no grand philosophy and only 3 minutes of boiling water, they deliver comfort exactly when needed. At 1 a.m., the city is hushed, yet somewhere ramen bubbles in a studio kitchenette, a hostel's shared stove, a student's rental near campus. Many people make the same choice at the same time. Ramen and kimchi, a common language across generations. Our parents weathered lean years with ramen, our generation survived exam nights on it, the next will boil it for their own reasons. Kimchi will always sit beside it, and the solace they offer won't change. Finishing a bowl may bring a twinge of guilt, I had ramen again, tomorrow I'll eat healthy. Even that guilt is part of the ritual, the thrill of the forbidden. The small joy of transgression, and the reassurance that normal routines will resume in the morning. Polishing off the last bite of kimchi and the final drop of broth brings a deep satisfaction, not of gastronomy, but of survival, hunger stilled, proof you can care for yourself, and the wisdom of finding happiness in small things. You rinse the pot and glance out the window. City lights still flicker. Behind each is a life, and perhaps someone else is eating ramen right now. Sharing the same food at the same hour forms an invisible bond, alone yet not lonely, a paradox that comforts. Turn off the light, the kitchen returns to darkness, traces of ramen vanish. But the warmth in your stomach and the taste on your lips linger. That is enough. Morning will bring its busyness, but this moment belonged entirely to you. Eyes closed, you can still feel the tingle of spice and the cool tang of kimchi, the spread of heat from the broth, senses weaving together to close the day. Ramen and kimchi are special because they capture our most honest moments, unvarnished desire, instant gratification, happiness found in simplicity. Michelin can't score it, nutritionists won't endorse it, connoisseurs may scoff. None of that matters. They don't exist to be judged. They exist to comfort, to feed, to remind us we're alive. The truest meal from the humblest ingredients, that is ramen with kimchi. We promise healthier dinners tomorrow, more greens, less fat, regular hours. But when night deepens and the pang returns, we know our hands will reach for a ramen packet and the kimchi tub. And that's okay. Ramen and kimchi aren't perfect, neither healthy nor refined nor rare. In that imperfection lies truth. At day's end, what we need isn't the perfect dish but honest comfort. Ramen with kimchi provides exactly that. The sound of water pouring into a pot, noodles cooking, kimchi being crunched together, they score our lives. Unflashy yet genuine, ordinary yet precious, these moments string into a life. One bowl of ramen, a few pieces of kimchi. That's all. And sometimes, that's enough. Clarity from a simple choice, certainty from a familiar taste against an uncertain tomorrow, companionship from a well-known food in a quiet night. A distant early morning train horn drifts in. Someone rides it to work, to travel, to a new start. One night, somewhere, they too will soothe hunger with ramen and kimchi, and in that moment, we'll feel the invisible thread between us. Ramen and kimchi are less a recipe than a way of living, being content with what you have, finding joy in simplicity, caring for yourself even when alone. We learn it through one bowl and a few bites of kimchi. Night deepens, the city sleeps, somewhere ramen still simmers. It might sound like loneliness, or comfort, or hope, but in any case, it proves life goes on. This modest duo will keep watching over our nights. No matter how the world changes, the comfort they offer won't. Because it is more than food, it's how we live, how we understand one another, and the strength that lets us meet tomorrow. With the last sip of broth, we give thanks for this simple food, this ordinary moment, and the fact that we can still taste. Quiet but certain, humble yet deep, simple yet complete, ramen and kimchi complete our nights. Through these 6 chapters we've explored the many meetings of pork and kimchi, the gentle embrace of bossam, the fiery encounter of grilled pork belly, the warmth of kimchi stew, the poised balance of kimchi fried rice, the crisp refuge of kimchi pancakes, and the midnight duet of ramen and kimchi. Each pairing carries its own flavors and meanings, yet they share one bond: togetherness. Food tastes good alone, but shared, it becomes special. Just as kimchi and pork elevate each other, our lives grow richer when lived together. May this story bring a small comfort to your table and your heart. If you're wondering what to eat tonight, choose one of these 6 and eat slowly, with attention. Food does more than fill the stomach, it fills a life.